Sorry.
We have to keep that in there.
Okay.
And we're back. Hey y'all. Last video of the time restricted feeding series. So this one is all about just the practicality of it. If you haven't watched the other two, I would definitely go and check those out. The first one was talking about what is time restricted feeding and how it differs from IF. And then the second one was a little bit about more research based and like the actual benefits that you can get from time restricted feeding that is studied. And then now the practical application. So we've both read about this, listened to it, find it super interesting. So how do we apply it and how do our clients apply it? So I've played around with a few different things. Well, first and foremost, I was doing this before I even knew it had like a name. And I started doing this a few years ago during one of my preps, and I would, you know, eat like a normal time in the morning, not super early, but not super late. And then I would just stop eating earlier. And I felt a lot better with it as far as like digestion goes, but really what it would help mentally was like, I am done eating at this time. Because we all know, if you've been dieting, you are just like, oh, I'll just have a little snack later. And then the snack later turns into like the whole pantry. And that's just not a good move. I always say not a good look, not a good move, not a good look. It's neither good. So I, you know, found for myself just like that mental like division of like, hey, this is what I'm eating, this is what I'm not eating. Really helped
that limit and don't even like think about what's in the
kitchen. I didn't have to like stress over it or think about it. And then funny, I was talking to Erin Stern like a while ago when she was on Redefine Healthy Radio. And she mentioned doing this, and like she didn't know about like, I mean, I think she knew about some of the research, but she didn't really call it time restricted feeding. She's like, yeah, I just eat on a 12-hour window, and if I eat past that, I just like, I feel like my body composition changes. And I was like, oh, okay, so like it's not just me. And then I kind of told her about this, like, okay, this is, you know, there is some research on this and whatever. So I was doing that. I don't know the exact time. I always said stop at like 7. It was usually like my time to stop eating. But I can't remember exactly like when I started eating. So it was between like a 10 to 12 hour. And a lot of the research is on that. But then there, of course, is like the classic, I would say, one of the classic IF timelines is like 16-hour fast, 8-hour feed. So I actually tried that for a little bit. And for me, I didn't find that it was as doable just because of my high protein diet. And I do high protein year round. It's something that I enjoy eating, and there is actually lots of research now on the benefits of high protein in the off season particularly. So if you're trying to gain lean muscle mass, it is really like the way to go.
Eric Helms, right? He's the one.
Who?
Eric Helms is the one with all the like that super high protein.
No, so Campbell and
Campbell.
Yeah, and Antonio has a few.
Okay.
And there's another one. I don't think it was Eric. But he has protein studies as well. But these are like high protein studies. Like Eric's was like high, but these are like higher.
Okay.
Like even higher than like normal bodybuilding standards. So and like Cliff has been doing that for years now. And like
I know his protein is like crazy.
His protein is crazy, and he's had his clients do that. And so basically in Campbell's lab we found that in an off-season maintenance period, so no calorie restriction, and you know, resistance training, that the females in the high protein group, even though they had more calories, they gained more lean body mass and not any more fat mass. So pretty good reason to do that. And we've seen this anecdotally and then now also in research. So anyways, I do high protein. I have no issues with it. But when I would condense it to the 8-hour period, I just found a little bit harder to get all of that in without eating like every 2 hours, which isn't something that I necessarily suggest or like, you know, like from a digestive
It's just like too much work.
It's just
for me, I'm just like
it's also just not like as beneficial because there is, you know, the refractory period that you have to worry about with muscle protein synthesis as well. So if you're trying to maximize everything, it's like, okay, how do we like take everything, right? Like there's obviously like muscle protein synthesis that we have to worry about, like eating enough protein enough times per day to maximize this, you know, stimulatory pathway. And there's also, okay, time restricted feeding. There's a lot of really cool research here. So like, how do we kind of blend everything? So what I've found, and I think it's kind of what you do too, is a 10 to 12 hour window is typically what we do. I have anywhere from 3 to 4 whole meals and then post-workout protein shake. So I always have the post-workout protein shake. And then if I have, 3 or 4, yeah, I said that right? 3 or 4 meals?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll either do 3 meals and then a protein shake, or I'll do 4 meals and a protein shake. It really just depends. And that's how I find is best to eat. This really can depend. Like typically in the off season, I can do 3 meals and a shake because I'm more satiated and I don't really have to worry about like, oh my god, if I don't eat right now, like I feel like shit.
Yeah, especially when you get home, like after a workout, you're just like
bro,
ravenous and you like don't think about making it, and you're like, pantry.
You're like me too. So Ryan like literally eats everything, but he does not eat like right after he worked out. Like he just has no appetite. He like whatever. I am like want to eat everything after I work out. And
I like don't even think about it. I just like pick out like whatever my hand can fit in and just like shove it in my face because I'm like starving.
Yeah.
Like my blood sugar just like drops. Like
yeah. So you have to have a plan afterwards. And basically, if you're in a calorie restriction, you're
having a shake like in your car, like on the way home, definitely helps.
Dude, best thing I ever could have done.
Which I got from her.
I have all my clients do that, and I just find that it's, again, people are like, oh, well, do you need that? Again, if it can get like this much more. Right. Those are the kind of people that I'm working with.
Like, you know, is it hurting you?
It's definitely not hurting you, and it's most likely going to help you.
Yeah.
Just think about it. Like you've trained, you've broken down, you know, all your muscle fibers, this and that. Like, why would you not want to repair that immediately? So it makes logical sense, and Dr. Campbell agrees. So, and I feel like the other researchers, like they position the protein after the training as well.
Yeah.
For the subject. So I'm like, I'm just gonna roll with this.
Yeah. Even if it does nothing, like it helps me just like. Probably stay in that when I'm dieting caloric restriction limit.
Oh yeah,
because I'll just like overeat if I'm like starving. And
exactly, and a scoop of you know hydrolyzed whey. Like I take Formula 1, which is hydrolyzed isolate. It's 20 grams of protein and like a carb or two. You know, like no fat. Like it's like 100 calories basically, or whatever it is, 80 something.
But you're immediately satiated, and you can like think straight when you're going home and like, okay, this is what I should eat versus just like making decisions.
Yeah, bad decisions usually, not good decisions. So for me with the time restricted feeding, typically what I'll do is I will eat anywhere from like 9 to 7 typically. Now this might change if I'm traveling, which is a lot, and sometimes like we end up having to go to dinner late or something.
Yeah.
But so if I do know that, then I will try to like maybe push my breakfast later. But then again, sometimes I can't do it because, you know, for whatever reason, like we're gone all morning and then like late at night. So like sometimes you can't make it work.
Yeah.
Again, especially if I'm dieting, like I gotta eat when I gotta eat. But I usually will try to do 9 to 7. But if you're gonna extend it for like the 12 hours, I would say I probably have something, even if it's like coffee or whatever, from like 8 to 8.
Yeah.
You know, that kind of something that needs to digest, or even after dinner, sometimes like tea or whatever.
Yeah.
And those are the things that people often forget about with the time restricted feeding, is that you do need to account for all those things. So I would say that I usually eat within a 10-hour window, and then I will have drinks kind of within the 12. Mm-hmm. So in any case, I'm getting the 12 hours of fasting, which explain why that's really cool and important.
Okay, so when you are fasting for at minimum at least 12 hours, your body actually goes into ketosis. So you can do a 12-hour fast, and if you regularly measure your ketones will be highest after a 12-hour fast. And during that point, we obviously know, if you know what ketosis is, you know that at that point your body is, its glucose stores are like sparingly low. So it starts going into like beta hydroxybutyrate for energy, which is found in adipose cells, which is your body essentially going directly to your fat source for energy and burning that. Which is a really good thing, obviously. If you're trying to get lean and not lose muscle.
Exactly. Yeah. Obviously, most people who are listening to this, their goal is to, you know, add muscle, get leaner. I mean, that's pretty much everybody's goal who's like in health and fitness, is like, how do I get more jacked and lean? So these are just little hacks. That's a terrible word, but just biological hacks. Yeah, biological hack. Okay, is that like trendy to say? I guess. But a biological hack would be to eat on a 10 to 12 hour window, and it really isn't that hard. So if you think about it, like 8 to 8, or you know, even 9 to 7, like really isn't that bad. And so here's something that I have come up with the clients a lot that we have to kind of troubleshoot. So say people, if they are, whether like they're trainers or like, or they have to, so if like a lot of people who are trainers, we're gonna have to train people earlier in the day and then later in the day, right? Yeah. Or for my clients who have a regular work schedule and they want to, you know, train in the morning, and you know, or they're just up for like a long period of time, right? Like, hey, how do I like manage my calories now? So this is where time restricted feeding becomes incredibly helpful, because it's like, okay, we're going to, you know, even if you wake up at 5, we don't have to eat, like we're gonna just fast for a little bit, and we're gonna eat maybe at like 8 or 9, whatever you can do comfortably. And I find that most people can fast easier in the morning, but we don't want to push it too late either, because like we talked about in the first video, eating super, super late isn't necessarily the best option. But most of these people, if they're waking up super early, like they're going to bed at, you know, they're like, I get home at like 9 and they go to bed at like, you know, 9:30 or 10.
Yeah.
So that's not really the issue for them. But for people who get up early, usually what I suggest is, hey, let's just fast for a little bit, a few hours in the morning.
Yeah.
And then what you can do is start eating after that, and it's just a lot more helpful. Fasted training is a whole different topic, and that's like a whole different video.
Yeah.
And honestly, there's really no right or wrong, in my opinion, as far as I haven't seen any research for it. I don't suggest it, but some people have to do it. So of course, having fuel for training is incredibly important. And in a perfect world, what I would suggest is, if you are going to train early in the morning, to just start eating early and then stop eating early.
Right.
Some people find that is, they're like, it like blows their mind when I say that. They're like, what do you, I have to stop eating? And I'm like, you're not gonna like die. Like, it's okay.
Yeah, you're gonna eat in like early in the morning.
Like, it's like literally not that big of a deal. Like, people like, what do you mean I can't eat? I'm like, it's okay, you can, but it's just, again, we're talking about, you know, trying to maximize everything.
Right.
So if we're trying to maximize performance, recovery, muscle protein synthesis, and time restricted feeding, something has to give, right?
Right.
So in a perfect world, you're not going to be training super, super early, so we don't have to run into this problem. But for some people, that is the reality. So that's kind of something that I individually troubleshoot with clients, and we'll just kind of say, I'll say, hey, let's set this up, let's do this for a few weeks, and then we'll try something else. And then, you know, that's just kind of how we have to roll with it.
Yeah.
And just really use like journaling and feedback, you know, sleep, training, performance, recovery, yada yada.
Yeah,
like,
documentation is super important for all
Yeah.
of this. Like keeping your own data, like being your own N=1.
your own scientist.
Yeah, like just knowing how your own body works and how your own body like responds to certain things is going to be very important for what method you find is going to be successful for you. Like for me, I try not to eat till like 8:30, 9 a.m. And so I know that if I have carbs like close to bedtime, like an hour or so before, I'm like really hungry. I'm like ravenous at like 7:30 a.m. Whereas if I like give myself 2 hours before bed without eating anything, I'm not that hungry, and I can focus on work, and I can just do what I need to do and just hold my time eating window off until like 8:30, 9 a.m.
Yeah, I've had some clients who, like, I've tried to switch them to this, and they're like, initially I'm like kind of hungry at night, but I feel so much better, like I sleep better, and in the morning I feel better. So I'm like, yeah, like it, you know, it's gonna be, again, different to everybody, and depending on like how, like your sleep schedule, when you get up, when you go to bed, your work, I mean, there's so many different layers here, but in general, try, and I would say at least 12 hours, you guys, with all food and drinks. Start there, find a time period that works for you, and then, you know, just journal and make adjustments accordingly.
Yeah, and just a quick little blurb on like why most people will tend to feel a lot better when they don't eat too close to their bedtime. It's because their body literally doesn't have to focus on trying to digest and break down all this energy right before bed. It can focus on all of like the brain recuperation and maintenance it needs to do at night. So when you sleep, your brain actually kind of goes through this wash. Your cerebrospinal fluid goes up into your brain and essentially cleans out amyloid beta plaques and everything that causes like oxidative stress, which will degrade neurons and essentially lead to like memory loss and cognitive decline. And this happens during like deep sleep, like REM sleep. And so if you're eating close to bed, you're not going to have that deep of sleep because your body has to focus on breaking down that food and metabolizing that food.
So, food for thought next time you're trying to eat a snack before bed.
Yeah.
So
if you want to feel better in the morning, just wait till the morning to
basically
eat.
You're saying I need to get smarter, so I'm not going to eat for bed. Just kidding. Yeah. That's not what we're saying. Thank you guys so much for watching. We really hope that you enjoyed this series on time restricted feeding, and let us know what you guys thought. And if you have been doing it, we'd love to hear your thoughts on your experience.